Hey, and welcome to 20 Minutes Self Development with me, your host, Tam Dillon. This podcast is all about focused, effective self development, specifically for healing practitioners, space holders, and intuitives who want to do the work behind the work. In each episode, I'll introduce you to a key concept, reflection, or tool that's designed to strengthen your inner capacity and support the integrity of your practice. In just 20 minutes, we'll go beyond surface level growth and into the real work that makes you a stronger, steadier, and more embodied practitioner. Let's get into today's episode. 20 minutes of development with me, your host, Tam Dillon. So last week we spoke about the importance of language for what we do as practitioners. Not just for the sake of sounding professional and, like we know what we're doing, but because it changes how it is that we refine our skills and how we work with our clients. And in that episode, I mentioned some of the core competencies that we need as practitioners. In fact, I mentioned core competencies quite a couple of times. I spoke a bit about Carl Rogers, and I'd mentioned things like congruence, empathy, and unconditional positive regard. And for today's episode, I want to focus on that last competency, unconditional positive regard, because in my experience, it's one of the hardest to truly cultivate, but it's also one of the most essential skills that we will need as a practitioner. So what the heck is unconditional positive regard? The term unconditional positive regard comes from Carl Rogers, the founder of person-centered therapy. His understanding was that for real healing and transformation to take place, three core conditions need to be present within the session and within the practitioner, and that is empathy, congruence, and unconditional positive regard. Unconditional positive regard means holding someone with full acceptance, no judgment, no conditions, and zero expectations. It's being able to sit with whoever is in front of you, no matter what they've done, what they believe, how they live, what they look like, what they smell like, what they talk like. None of that matters. You are sitting with whoever is in front of you despite all of that, and have genuine regard for them as a person. It means having hope for their process, even if they can't see it for themselves yet. Now, I'm going to stretch you a little bit here, and you're probably going to be like, yeah, I could have unconditional positive regard for most of the people that walk through my door. Think about the person that you dislike the most in the world. Like go big or go home. Think of an actor that really grates you the wrong way. Think of a politician that you despise. Think of a person of influence on TikTok that you're like, oh my God, I dislike this person so much. That person walks through your door and they're like, hey, all these things about me that like you look at me and you're like, this person could work on this, that, and the next thing. Well, I'm here to work on this, that, and the next thing, and I want you to help me with that. Unconditional positive regard for that person. Having hope for that person that you dislike so intensely. Having hope for their process. Sitting with that person with complete unconditional positive regard. No judgments, no expectations, no conditions, no, oh my God, I dislike this person so much because of this, that, and the next thing. You are just sitting with them and having hope for their experience. You can see why unconditional positive regard is one of the hardest skills to cultivate, right? When you stretch it out like that and you think about someone that, it's easy to be like, oh, whatever client will walk through my door, I could easily cultivate that for them because, I love my work and I love my clients. What if someone you don't love or like walks through your door? It will happen. It likely may have happened already if it hasn't already. It's not the same as approving of their choices, and it's not about enabling unhealthy behavior. Like, no, not at all. This is not what we're doing, okay? And it's not about reinforcing their unhealthy behavior or saying, oh, well, it's okay that you did that. That's not what this is about, okay? What it is about, though, is about creating a safe, accepting space where the other person can fully explore themselves without fear of being judged or rejected. Because they've walked through your door, because they want to do the work. They're there to do more. Some people aren't. Some people are there in the hopes that you'll do the work for them. Like, let's be real. But, for those that have walked through your door and they're like, I want to do the process and I'd like you to take me through that process, you've got to be able to hold space in a way that they will have no fear of being judged or rejected, that they can speak freely and honestly. They can deep dive within themselves and know that they can come up for air and not being stamped down by like, oh my God, that's disgusting, or oh, how can you think that way, or oh, how can you be this way? No judgments whatsoever. Okay, hard skill to cultivate, right? It sounds harder than it is. So why is it so hard to cultivate? And this is where it gets tricky, because unconditional positive regard asks us to let go of pretty much all of our filters. All right, we all have personal values, we have preferences, we've got our own histories, and we've got our own biases. And these are the things that shape how we see the world. We have our lenses and perceptions. We all have buttons that get pushed and people or situations that trigger us. Like I say, expand it out and think about the person that you dislike the most, the person that you think about them and instantly you're like, oh, I hate this person. Like, they make you angry just by visualizing them. You want to punch them, okay? Like we're human, all right? So we've got to think about these things. When you're sitting in a session and a client says something that completely clashes with your worldview, and it will happen. I have had it happen multiple times because I've had diversity walk through my door. Your instinct might be to pull back emotionally or to, subtly guide them towards a conclusion that you feel is right, or maybe interject with, well, have you thought about this belief system, and quietly interject your own beliefs into theirs. Sometimes that happens without us even realizing that we're doing it. It's a subtle unconscious thing. Sometimes there isn't an intention to it. Unconditional positive regard asks us to notice those reactions and set them aside for the sake of the client's process. You are not the most important person in that room. Sorry, not sorry. Okay, like, if you're going to learn anything from me, like, learn and understand that you are not the most important person in that room when you are in session with your clients. Your client is the be all and end all inside that session. So we have to set aside those reactions for the sake of that person's process. It's one of the biggest mindset shifts that you can make as a practitioner, moving from I know what's best for you to I trust that you can find what's best for you, and my role is to support that. I'm going to say that again. You're going to move from I know what's best for you to I trust that you will find what is best for you, and my role is to support that. Do you hear the difference? If you put yourself in your client's shoes and you went to go and see a practitioner and that practitioner said, I know what's best for you, how do you feel? Now that practitioner says to you, I trust that you can find what's best for you, and my role is to support you in that. How do you feel? Difference, right? Big difference. That words, man, words matter. Go back and listen to last week's episode if you haven't listened to it already. Language matters. So how we talk to our clients is going to indicate how safe they feel, how trusting they feel, how open they're going to be, and how much they're going to allow themselves to actively engage with their own process. So what happens if we don't have unconditional positive regard? Well, without unconditional positive regard, sessions become spaces where clients will edit themselves. They will start to avoid sharing certain things because they feel judged. misunderstood or subtly steered in a certain direction. This shuts down the very exploration and honesty that leads to transformation. If you use the word transformation in your marketing, if you're like, oh, I help my clients through transformation, and you don't have unconditional positive regard, please go and remove the word transformation from your wording. Like, until you have cultivated that skill and worked on it and started to develop it for yourself, you will lack pure, genuine transformation in your sessions. Unconditional positive regard will make a huge make or break to your sessions, because it is self-exploration and self-honesty from your client, not from you. As I will say it again, you are not the most important person in that session. Your client is. And it's their honesty and their self-exploration that's going to lead to true transformation. You may be like me back in the day as a baby reader. I would drop the most beautiful, profound knowledge and guidance, and my clients would be like, wow, Tam, that makes so much sense and that's so helpful. And they would be back in 2 weeks' time with the exact same thing. Why? Because I gave them the knowledge. They didn't find the knowledge for themselves. There is a difference, and that difference is going to be the difference between your client having an actual transformative, integrative experience and your client being handed a bunch of possibly transformative knowledge, if they can really internalize it and understand it for themselves. And then this creates a power imbalance. If a client senses that your acceptance of them is conditional, maybe based on whether they're making good progress or saying things that you agree with, they may put you on a pedestal or work to please you instead of working for themselves. And again, you're not the most important person in the session. Your clients are not there to impress you. They are not there to do their process and do the work to make you proud of them. They're there to do it for themselves. Okay, that is not healthy for either of you. Okay, like it's not a healthy situation. And this is what happens when we lack unconditional positive regard in our sessions. In my early days as a practitioner, I knew that I needed to be empathetic. I knew that because of the things that people were coming to me with, and the conversations that we're having and the experiences that were being shared with me, I knew I couldn't be any form of judgmental with the people that walk through my door. I had to be able to hold space for anyone and accept anyone that walked through my door. I learned that fairly early on. I just didn't have the word unconditional positive regard, and like, hey, this is an actual skill. And I truly understood the value of being kind and listening without judgment, but I didn't know that term, and I didn't understand the depth that skill could actually go to. Before I learned about it through Carl Rogers' work during my counseling certification, I thought acceptance was simply about, being nice to people, to put it very simply, where it's like, oh, I hear where you're coming from, and I see you, and that must be really difficult, and oh, shame, and here's the tissues. That's me being nice. That's not unconditional positive regard. That is not non-judgment. That is inauthentic niceness. That's just common courtesy. No, we don't do that in session. Okay, we do better in our sessions. But the more I studied this and I understood this word, the more I realized it's about holding space without conditions. Even for people whose beliefs, actions, perspectives are vastly different from my own. When I say I had diversity come through my door, I mean I had diversity come through my door. Once I had this term, unconditional positive regard, I could research it. I could see it in action, and I could actually start to intentionally practice it in my sessions. It gave me such a clear target to aim for, rather than just a vague sense of, being non-judgmental, accepting whoever walks through my door. That clarity, it made all the difference. There's a huge difference in understanding non-judgment and unconditional positive regard is a skill. It just makes such a huge difference. So cultivating unconditional positive regard. So cultivating the skill isn't something that you do overnight. Okay, but you can absolutely start it overnight. Okay, nothing is stopping you from starting doing the work right now. But so you can start simply by becoming more aware of your own reactions and sessions. There is a great simple way to start. Like, have more awareness of yourself in sessions. Be more aware of your judgments of your clients in sessions. Are you sitting there quietly judging your clients? Are you, you know, putting conditions on your clients? Are you sitting with those clients and thinking, oh, they're back for week 8 and we're still on this section, we're still working through this thing, like, why can't they just go home and do their homework and sort their lives out? Ooh, we are being super judgmental. And also, we've completely disengaged from our client. We're not even hearing our client anymore because we're so absorbed in our judgment of our client. So have awareness in sessions of your reactions, of your judgments, of the way that you're thinking about your client, the thoughts that you're having about your client, the words that you're using to think about your clients. But pay attention to the stuff. You notice when you feel resistance to something that a client says, ask yourself, is this about them? Or is it about me and my own filters and my own biases and my own beliefs and my own values? And you can also practice separating the person from the behavior. Understand that human beings are human beings. They are not their behaviors, they are not their patterns, they are not their fears and addictions and shitty things that they do to other people. That is not the human. That is the external parts of the human. So separate those things. You can accept someone fully as a person without endorsing every choice that they make. So, like I said right in the beginning, this is not about, oh, your behavior is completely okay and what you did is fine. What they did was probably horrendous, but we're not there to judge the person. We're there to listen and understand the person so that we can assist them through their process. And that distinction helps you stay grounded in unconditional positive regard without abandoning your own integrity. Okay, like, it's okay to still have boundaries. It's okay to still have your integrity intact. Like, we're not asking you to just accept everything and be enabling of everything. All right, they still have boundaries. And remember, this doesn't mean you're a blank slate with no opinions or feelings. It means you choose to prioritize the client's process over your own preferences in that space. Unconditional positive regard is just one of the core competencies that Carl Rogers identified, and it sits alongside empathy and congruence as essential for deep transformation. In my core competencies course that I've put together recently, I cover these three in depth, along with several additional skills that I found to be invaluable in my own work, skills that I know will be invaluable to you as a practitioner. And they're not abstract ideals, okay? They're actual practical, teachable skills that you can develop over time. And just like we talked about in the last episode, having the language for these skills makes them so much easier to refine. When you know what you're aiming for, you can practice with intention and you can get to things far quicker and far more easily, and your work becomes so much more powerful. If unconditional positive regard is something you would like to strengthen for yourself, and I'd highly recommend it. If you're going to work with other people in a practitioner, healing, therapeutic setting, please have unconditional positive regard. Please go and cultivate that skill, because it will make you a far more transformative practitioner. I'd like you to start simply noticing. Notice your reactions, notice the judgments, notice how it feels to consciously set it aside for the sake of the client's process, or bring more awareness into your sessions. And if you do want to go more deeply and you do want to work to refine the skill, Go grab yourself my core competencies for practitioners course. It's designed to help you develop not just unconditional positive regard, but a full set of essential skills to hold space way more effectively and safely. You can find the details for the course and enrollment at academy.tamdillon.com under my courses section. Because at the end of the day, unconditional positive regard isn't just a, nice to have. It's one of the most powerful tools we have for creating space where real healing and transformation can happen.
Thanks for joining me for this week's episode of 20-Minute Self-Development. If today's reflections were helpful, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode, where we'll explore another tool or principle to support you in doing your own work as a healing practitioner. If you're looking for deeper support, my practitioner mentoring sessions are designed to help you refine your presence, integrate your self-work, and build a practice that's both ethical and sustainable. You can also visit the Tam Dillon Academy to explore all current programs and resources built specifically for space holders like you. Until next time, keep showing up for your own work, and remember, real growth is built on consistency, integrity, and self-responsibility.